Number system is one of the most important topics in arithmetic, and I've divided it into three parts. This is part one.
Number system. Let's see. First, we'll understand the different kinds of numbers. Okay. So the different kinds of numbers starts with natural numbers denoted by n, where 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, up to infinity are said to be natural numbers. Whole numbers are the set of 0 included to the set of natural numbers. So 0 included to the set of natural numbers are said to be whole numbers. Integers can be categorized into three kinds: negative numbers, 0, and positive numbers. When you take them as three categories, the advantage is when you want to talk about positive integers, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. For negative integers, it's -1, -2, -3, so on. So non-positive integers become non-positive. So positive is not there. So there will be 0 and negative numbers as well. So 0, -1, -2, -3, so on are said to be non-positive integers. Non-negative, so negative is not there, so 0 and positive will be there. Now this is the advantage when you consider integers as three categories: positive, 0, and negative. So non-negative integers are 0 included set of positive natural numbers. Okay. Then rational numbers are numbers which can be written in the form of p by q. Now any number which can be written in the form of p by q is said to be a rational number, where p comma q belongs to z. So p and q are integers, so there can be negative numbers also in fractions and it's still a rational number. And q not equal to 0. What happens if q is 0? If q is 0, if the denominator becomes 0, then it becomes undefined. And for that reason, the denominator should not be 0. There can be positive or negative numbers in the form of p by q, and those are rational numbers. Now, irrational numbers are numbers which cannot be written in the form of p by q. Which cannot be written in the form of p by q. For example, surds. See, root 2, root 3. These are surds. Now, root 4 is equal to plus 2 or minus 2. So, root 4 is not a surd. So, any number which is in its roots, but it cannot come out of the roots, is said to be an irrational number. So, for example, cube root 25 is an irrational number. Cube root 26 is an irrational number, but cube root 27 is not an irrational number because this is equal to 3. Okay, so if a number cannot come out of the roots, then it's said to be an irrational number. Clear? So we can write that as nth root of x, where x is not equal to k power n. So it's not the nth power of any number, then it cannot come out of the roots. So nth root of x. So fourth root of 15 is an irrational number. Fourth root of 16 is not an irrational number because it can come out of the roots. Okay. Then real numbers are the set of rational numbers and irrational numbers taken together. So rational and irrational taken together are said to be set of real numbers. Now what are even numbers? Even numbers are numbers divisible by 2. Okay, that we already know. What do you mean by odd numbers? You can never define odd numbers as numbers which are not divisible by 2, because there are many numbers which are not divisible by 2. For example, 4 by 5 is not divisible by 2. It cannot be an odd number, right? So you can't define odd number as numbers which are not divisible by 2. You have to write odd numbers as numbers that leave a remainder of 1 when divided by 2. That's how you define an odd number. Similarly, let's get to prime numbers. Prime numbers are numbers which have two factors. This is the best way to define a prime number. Numbers having two factors are said to be prime numbers, and those two factors would be 1 and itself. Now you can't take the vice versa. You can't say numbers divisible by 1 in itself are prime. Okay, every prime is divisible by 1 in itself, but every number that is divisible by 1 in itself need not necessarily be prime. For example, 1 is equal to 1 and itself, 0 is equal to 1 and itself. Okay, these two are equal to 1 and itself, but still these two are not prime numbers because 0 cannot be calculated at all. For example, if I ask you a question like this, is 4 by 5 even or odd? See, that's a stupid question, right? You can define if a number is even or odd only if a natural number is given. So 4 by 5 is a fraction, so there's no such question at all. Similarly, prime numbers are defined only on a set of natural numbers, and since 0 is not a natural number, any question asking if 0 is prime is stupidity. So that's eliminated. Now let's look at 1. How many factors does 1 have? 1 has only one factor. If you have two factors, it's said to be a prime number, and if you have more than two factors, it's said to be a composite number. Okay, more than two factors. For example, how can you write 5? 5 can be written as 1 into 5. Is there any other way? No. So how many factors are there? 1 and 5. There are only two factors here. Similarly for 7. 7 can be written as 1 into 7. So there are only two factors because there is no other way to write 7. If you take 6, 6 can be written as 1 into 6 and 2 into 3. So how many factors are there? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 factors. So if you have more than 2 factors, it's a composite number. So 6 is a composite number. Now these two are prime numbers. Okay. So if a number has more than 2 factors, it's a composite number. If it has 2 factors, it's a prime number. But 1 has only one factor. And so we understand that 1 is neither prime nor composite. So 1 is neither prime, it's not prime, and it's not composite also. Okay. Then let's talk about twin primes. Twin primes are primes that differ by 2. They should definitely be prime numbers that differ by 2, like 3, 5, 5, 7, 11, 13, etc. These are twin primes. Now coming to co-primes, this is very important. I've put a star mark there. Co-primes can also be called as relative primes, and the definition goes like this. Two numbers are said to be co-prime if their highest common factor or GCD is 1. Okay, highest common factor should be 1. So two numbers are said to be co-prime if their highest common factor is 1. See, this is a bit difficult to understand. To make it easy, what I'll tell you is two numbers are co-prime if they can't be cancelled. This is what you'll have to remember. Two numbers are co-prime if they can't be cancelled, because if they can be cancelled, there is some common factor to them. We want the highest common factor to be 1, which indicates that there should not be any other common factors. For example, 2 and 4, what's common? There's 2 common in both, right? So you can cancel 2 in both the cases. So these are not co-prime. 3 and 5, you cannot cancel anything. So they are co-prime. 9 and 13, you cannot cancel anything. They are co-prime. 15 and 16, you cannot cancel anything. They are co-prime. So see, look at the examples that I've given you. I've given you 2 prime numbers, 1 prime and 1 composite number, and I've given you 2 composite numbers also. So there is no rule that co-primes should be primes. Co-primes can be any numbers, but as long as they cannot be cancelled, they are said to be co-prime or relative prime. So cannot be cancelled is said to be co-prime. Remember that, because we'll have to use that while finding LCM and HCF. Okay. Let's look at all the prime numbers. Okay, up to 100. So 2 prime numbers are numbers which cannot be written in any other form, which cannot be broken up. Okay, so 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47, 53, 59, 61, 67, 71, 73, 79, 83, 89, and 97. From 1 to 100, there are 25 primes. From 1 to 50, there are 15 primes. Okay. Now, most common mistakes that people make are 87, that's 29 threes. 57, that's 19 threes. 51 is 17 threes. 91 is 7 13s. Other than this, all the others are easy. Every other number other than these prime numbers are definitely divisible by some other numbers other than 1 in itself. Test of divisibility. Now this is important to form simplifications faster. Okay, so we need to be able to cancel numbers, right? Once we look at the number, we should know if it's divisible by a particular number or not, and for that we will check the test of divisibility. For example, if I give you that I have 1696 chocolates with me, so I have 1696 chocolates with me, I'll have to divide that between 2 people. So can I divide this between 2 divided by 2? Okay, yes, we can divide it by 2. How can we say? Without even dividing it, actually, we are able to say that this is divisible by 2, because for 2, we look at the units digit. So if the last digit is divisible by 2, then it's definitely divisible by 2. For example, let's take one more. 2735. Is this divisible by 2? No, right? Because the last digit is 5. 5 is not divisible by 2. So 2735 is not divisible by 2. That's the rule for 2. Let's look at 3. The rule for 3 is the sum of the digits should be divisible by 3. The sum of the digits here, 1 plus 6 is 7, 7 plus 9 is 16, 16 plus 6 is 22. 22 is not divisible by 3, and so this 16 minus 6 is also not divisible by 3. 2 plus 7 is 9, 9 plus 3 is 12, 12 plus 5 is 17. 17 is not divisible by 3, so 2735 is not divisible by 3. Let's take one more. 1935. 1 plus 9 is 10, 10 plus 3 is 13, 13 plus 5 is 18. 18 is divisible by 3, so 1935 will definitely be divisible by 3. Is that understood? So for 3, we'll check the sum of the digits. If the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, the number should be divisible by 3. Let's look at 4. If a number formed by the last 2 digits should be divisible by 4. Number formed by the last 2 digits should be divisible by 4. 1272. What's the number formed by the last 2 digits? 72. We will have to check if 72 is divisible by 4 or not, and if 72 is divisible, 1272 will be divisible by 4. Else, it will not be divisible. Now, 72 is definitely divisible by 4, so obviously 1272 is also divisible by 4. Okay, even if there are complicated numbers like this. Okay, 1292. You want to check if it's divisible by 4 or not. You'll have to check the last 2 digits. 92. If you do not know the table of 4 until 92, the best thing to do is cut down, subtract any number that's divisible by 4 for sure. So from 92, I know that 80 is divisible. If I subtract 80, I'll get 12. So this is definitely divisible by 4. You can do such things by breaking up numbers. For example, I'll give you one more example. Wait. See, if I say, what is the remainder when 1000 is divided by 7? What is the remainder when 1000 is divided by 7? First, you will have to take a number that's definitely divisible by 7, and it should be less than 1000. So we definitely know that 700 is divisible. Subtract 700, you're left with 300. From 300, you know 280 is divisible by 7. Subtract 280, you're left with 20. When you divide 20 by 7, 14 gone. How much is left? 6. So when the remainder when 1000 is divided by 7 will be 6. Such is how you will break down the numbers. Okay, you take something that you already know and you cut it down. Accordingly, you'll get the remainder. Let's take one more example. If I ask you to find the remainder when 2000 is divided by 36. 2000 divided by 36. So from 2000, we'll have to take down something which is definitely divisible by 36. Let's see. 36 tens is 360. 365 is 1800. So 1800 gone. How much is left? 200. Out of 200, you'll have to take something divisible by 36. 36 double is 72. Twice of that is 144. I know that it is divisible. I'll subtract 144. You're left with 56. From this, I remove 36 again. You're left with 20. So 20 is the remainder when 2000 is divided by 36. So you keep on breaking numbers. It will be easy. You have to take out something that you already know. For example, if I say 120 divided by 7, what is the remainder? So remainder when 120 divided by 7, I know 70, I'll remove 70 first. Okay, from 120 if I remove 70, I got 50. From 50, if I remove something divisible by 7, which I know, I got 1. So 120 divided by 7, 1 is the remainder. So you'll have to learn to break numbers to solve problems faster. That's for 4. Then 5. Units digit should be 0 or 5. The last digit is 0 or 5. It's definitely divisible by 5. 6. The number should be divisible by 2 and 3 as well. So any number which is divisible by 2, you already know how to check with 2 and 3, right? So if a number is divisible by 2 and 3, then it's definitely divisible by 6. For example, 1, 7, 3, 2, 4, 5, 2. Okay, let's check if this is divisible by 6 or not. No, it's definitely divisible by 2 because the last digit is 2. Then 1 plus 7 is 8, 8 plus 3 is 11, 11 plus 4 is 15, 15 is divisible by 3. So this number should be divisible by 3. So this particular number is divisible by 2 and 3. So it's definitely divisible by 6. The rule for 7. Difference of twice the units digit from the remaining number should be 0 or a multiple of 7. See, remaining, it can be mentioned as truncated because you have a tree. You cut it down. Whatever you cut, this part, okay, whatever you cut, this part is said to be a log. And what's left is called a trunk. What's left is called a trunk. Okay, so the remaining number is called a truncated number. So let's take examples for our better understanding. I'll take 343. See, that's 7 cube, right? So 7 cube, 7 into 7 into 7 is 343. It's definitely divisible by 7. Similarly, let's take one more number, 5656. This is 7808. 7 into 808. It's definitely divisible by 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is not divisible by 7. Let's check. How do we check? As I already told you, difference of twice the units digit. What's twice the units digit? 6. Twice the units digit is 6. Difference is minus. From the remaining number is 34 minus 6 will give you 28. Now is 28 divisible by 7? Yes. So 343 should also be divisible by 7. If this is yes, this is yes. If this is no, this should also be no. Then 5656. The units digit is 6. Twice will be 12. Difference is 553. Okay. Now we'll have to check if 553 is divisible by 7 or not. Let's repeat the process. Twice the units digit is 6. Subtract. You're getting 49, which is divisible by 7. So 5656 is also divisible by 7. Then let's check for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last digit. Twice is 10. Subtract. You get 1, 2, 2, 4. Twice is 8. Subtract. You get 1, 1, 5. Twice is 10. Subtract. You get 1, which is not divisible by 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not divisible by 7. I hope it's understood. Difference of, you'll take the last digit, multiply it with 2, subtract from the remaining number, and that should be 0 or a multiple of 7. Then let's look at the rule for 8. Number formed by the last 3 digits should be divisible by 8. Number formed by the last 3 digits should be divisible by 8. Okay, I'll elaborate that a bit, okay, for you to understand. Let's see. What's the rule for 2? You look at the last digit. What's the rule for 4? You look at the last 2 digits. What's the rule for 8? Last 3 digits. See, these are powers of 2. So by understanding this, if I give you a large number like this, like 1 0 0 2 4 3 6 7 8 4, and ask you if it's divisible by 32, and if I ask you a question, if this number is divisible by 32, 32 is a power of 2 and it's equal to what? 2 power 5. So if you have to check if this number is divisible by 32 or not, you just have to look at the last 5 digits. Okay? Why? What's the reason? I'll explain the reason a bit in detail. Let's see. If I take a number like this, 17286, and you want to check if it's divisible by 2 or not, can I write this as 1728 into 10 plus 6? See, 10 is divisible by 2, so any number of 10s will definitely be divisible by 2. Since 10 is divisible by 2, any number of 10s will be divisible by 2, so we are only checking for 6. If we are looking for 4, then that's 172 into 100 plus 86. See, 100 is divisible by 4, so any number of hundreds will definitely be divisible by 4. You just have to check for the last 2 digits. That is why for powers of 2, you take the last digits based on what power of 2 you're checking for. So 8 is 2 cube, so you're checking for the last 3 digits. 4 is 2 square, you're checking for the last 2 digits. That's how it goes on for powers of 2. Clear? So 8, number formed by the last 3 digits should be checked. 9, sum of the digits should be divisible by 9. So if I say 18792, is this divisible by 9 or not? 1 plus 8 is 9, 9 plus 7 is 16, 16 plus 9 is 25, 25 plus 2 is 27. Yes, 27 is divisible by 9, so 18,792 is also divisible by 9. So sum of the digits should be divisible by 9, and that's the rule for 9. 10, that's easy. The last digit should be 0, and then the number is said to be divisible by 10. 11, what's the rule for 11? Difference between sums of alternate digits should be 0 or a multiple of 11. Multiple of 11 is nothing but the numbers that come in the multiplication table of 11, like 11, 22, 33, 44, etc. Okay. So difference between sums of alternate digits. Let's take examples. 5656, 5566, 1829, 4. or let's take that as 3. Okay, so sums of alternate digits, alternate like this, you'll have to take their sums, alternate. I've given this example to make you understand. One place there can be 3 digits, the other place there can only be 2 digits also. Okay, here sums of alternate is 12, 6 plus 6, 5 plus 5 is 10, 5 plus 6 is 11, 5 plus 6 is 11, 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, 8 plus 9 is 17. Now you'll have to take the difference. Difference is the larger value minus the smaller value. Okay, it need not necessarily be first minus second. Okay, larger value minus smaller value is 2. This is not divisible by 11. 0, this is divisible by 11. The difference is 11, so this is also divisible by 11. So the difference between sums of alternate digits should be 0 or a multiple of 11. Clear? That's the rule for 11. Now if that is understood, you should be able to solve this problem. What is the least number that should be added to the following numbers to make them divisible by 11? What is the least number that should be added to the following numbers to make them divisible by 11? So it indicates that these two numbers are not divisible by 11. You have to see how much should be added so that they be divisible by 11. Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. I want you to answer these 2 questions. Sums of alternate digits. I don't want you rushing and making mistakes. This is an easy question. You should never make a mistake for an easy question. Okay, now let's look at the method to find the answer. Okay, 19386 is a number, right? Now if I add 2 to this number, where would it be added? If I add 2 to 19386, where would it be added? It will be added at the last digit, right? It will be added here. So let's understand that. So whatever we add, let's assume the answer is x. If x is added, this will definitely be divisible by 11. So whatever we add will be added to the last digit. Here as well, whatever we add will be added to the last place. Okay, so when you're taking the sum, it becomes 10 plus x here and 17 here. When you're taking the sum, it becomes 20 plus x here and 3 on the other side, because this is 3, right? When you're finding the difference, I already told you the larger value minus the smaller value should be done. Larger value is 17, smaller value is 10 plus x. So subtract and you will get 7 minus x. Similarly, larger value minus smaller value, 20 plus x is the larger value, subtract 3 and you get 17 plus x. Okay, as I already told you, the result should be 0 or a multiple of 11. So it can be equal to 0, it can be equal to 11, it can be equal to 22, it can be equal to 33 or so on, right? So 7 minus x, for it to be equal to 0, what is the value of x? 7. That's your answer. Okay, then here 17 plus x cannot be equal to 0. 17 plus x cannot be equal to 11, but 17 plus x can be equal to 22 when x is what? When x is 5. So 7 and 5 are the answers. Any other answer that you get is wrong. Okay, don't directly subtract and find the answer like that. This is the method to do it. It's an easy question, hardly takes a lot of time. You will have to apply this logic. Now, the divisibility rules for 12 and other composite numbers. Divisibility rules for 12 and other composite numbers. See, 12 is a composite number. Write that number as product of 2 coprime factors. What do you mean by coprime? Which cannot be cancelled. So 2 coprime factors and check the test of divisibility. 12 should be broken into 2 numbers such that they cannot be cancelled. So what are the numbers? 3 and 4. You can't write 2 and 6 because they can be cancelled. 2 and 6 are not coprime. You should take 3 and 4 only. So if a particular number is divisible by 3 and it's also divisible by 4, then the number will definitely be divisible by 12. For 24, how can you write 24? 2 coprime factors, 3 and 8. So if a number is divisible by 3 and it's also divisible by 8, then the number is said to be divisible by 24. for 72, 8 and 9 for 84, 7 and 12, 12 again break it as 3 and 4. So if a number is divisible by 3, 4 and 7, it will definitely be divisible by 84. Is it understood? So you'll have to break the number into two co-prime factors and check with those factors. For example, they'll give you a question like this. They'll give you large numbers. Okay. They'll give you large numbers. Assume these are large numbers. And then they'll ask you how many of these are divisible by 99. So out of these numbers, there are 8 numbers here. Out of these 8 numbers, how many are divisible by 99 is the question. How do you break 99? With co-prime factors, that's 9 into 11. So all these 8 numbers, we'll have to check with 9 first. Check with divisibility of 9. You know how to do that, right? Sum of the digits should be divisible by 9. So check with 9. Let's assume, for example, let's assume these 4 numbers are divisible and the remaining 4 are not divisible. Then check with 11. Check these 4 numbers with 11. For example, let's assume these 2 numbers are divisible and these are not divisible. Now, how many numbers are divisible by 9 and 11? There are 2 numbers. So that indicates there will be 2 numbers which will definitely be divisible by 99. Is that understood? That's how you break numbers. I've seen questions where they ask you for divisibility of 132. How do you break 132? That's 11 into 12. 12 can be broken as 3 into 4. So you will have to check for numbers which are definitely divisible by 3, 4 and 11. That's how you find the answer. This is the test of divisibility for 12 and other composite numbers. Primes. What's the rule for 7? What's the rule for 7 that I taught you? You'll multiply the last digit with 2 and subtract from the remaining number. This is the rule for 7, right? You'll multiply the last digit with 2 and subtract from the remaining number. If we take this as column 1 or row 1, row 2 and row 3. Okay. Now these numbers you'll have to by heart them. 2, 4, 5, 2, 7, 3, 3. Minus, plus, minus, plus, 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 minus. See, this whole table you'll have to by heart it. Okay. See, I wrote the rule here. Multiply units digit with number given in the second row. This row. Okay. You'll multiply the units digit with the number given in the second row and do the operation given in the third row with the remaining number. So you'll do the operation. For 7, you subtract from the remaining number. For 13, you add to the remaining number. For 17, you subtract from the remaining number. For 19, you add. For example, let's take an example here. Okay. 1, 3, 5, 2 is definitely divisible by 13. That's 13 104s. Okay. I already know it. Let's just take an example. 13, the rule is into 4 plus, right? So last digit into 4 is 8 plus. This becomes 143. Repeat the process until you know a particular number is divisible or not divisible. Okay. So last digit is 3 into 4 is 12 plus you get what? 26. 26 is divisible by 13. So you can confirm that 1352 is divisible by 13. This is for 13. Okay. I'm checking for 13. Let's take something else like 19. Okay. I'll take 3, 8, 9, 3, 1. This is a number which is exactly divisible by 19. Okay. Let's see. 19. 19, the rule is into 2 plus. Into 2 and plus. Last digit is 1, into 2 is 2. When you add it, you get 3, 8, 9, 5. Last digit is 5. Into 2 is 10. Plus you get 399. 399, the last digit is 9. Into 2 is 18. Add and you get 57. 57 is 19 threes, but still if you do not know that, repeat the process. 7 into 2 is 14. When you add, you get 19. So 19 is definitely divisible. So this is also divisible by 19. Is that understood? But this whole table you'll have to memorize it here. Only then will you be able to check for prime numbers. And I've given prime numbers only up to 31 because with this you will be able to find any number if it's prime or not until 1000. Okay, I'll give you the rule, don't worry. But until 1000 you'll be able to find out if a number is prime or not. There's a question here. How many numbers less than 100 are divisible by 3 or 5. See, there are many numbers divisible by 3 and divisible by 5. I'm saying or, it's not and. Okay, we have to check for numbers which are divisible by 100, less than 100, which are divisible by 3 or 5. Okay, let's see how I'll give you a minute to think about it and answer it, and then I'll solve it for you. How many numbers less than 100 are divisible by 3 or 5? Observe this. See, I said less than 100. So divisible by 3 from 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, so on up to 99. How many are there? 33. Divisible by 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, so on up to 95 only, because 100 should not be considered. Because I said less than 100. How many are there? 19. Now this is okay. When you see all these numbers satisfy conditions, but there are certain numbers which are counted in divisible by 3 and also in divisible by 5 also. The same number cannot be counted twice. So we'll have to subtract them. What are the numbers which are present in both the cases? They are the numbers which are divisible by 3 and also 5. So numbers divisible by 3 and 5, which indicates they are definitely divisible by what? 15. So 15, 30, 45, 60, 75 and 90. Up to 90. How many are there? 6 are there. So you add these two and subtract this. So add these two, you get 52. Subtract 6, you get the answer as 46. That's your answer. See, there's something that you need to understand here. If a number is divisible by A and divisible by B, then it will be divisible by LCM of AB. It's not product. It's LCM of AB. Is that understood? See, one second. For example, if I say how many numbers less than 100 are divisible by 4 or 6, what do we do? First we'll take divisible by 4. How many are there? 425 is 100, right? So one less. That's 24. 424 is 96, the last number. Divisible by 6. 6 16s is 96. 16. Now when you're subtracting, you add these two and you have to subtract the repetitions, right? Repetitions, when you're subtracting, you should not take 4 into 6, 24. You should take the LCM. What is the LCM of 4 and 6? It's 12. LCM is the number, the first number that comes in the multiplication tables of 4 and 6. So in the multiplication table of 4 and 6, you need the first number and that's the LCM. So divisible by 12, how many times does 12 go into 100? 8 times, because 12 8s are 96. Then you will get your answer as 32. This is understood. It's not 4 into 6, 24. It's LCM of 4 and 6, which is 12. So that's what you'll have to understand. For that reason, I gave you this note. If a number is divisible by A and divisible by B, then it will be divisible by LCM of A comma B. So for this question, you have counted how many are divisible by 3, how many are divisible by 5. And then those which are being repeated, which are divisible by 15, have to be subtracted to get your answer. Clear? Formulae. Now, there are certain formulae. Whenever you use formulae, you can always solve problems faster. Formulae are used to solve problems faster. Okay. So there are certain formulae that we need to memorize. So it's better you copy it down. I'm just going to read them for you. A plus b whole square is a square plus b square plus 2ab. A minus b whole square is a square plus b square minus 2ab. A square minus b square is a plus b into a minus b. A plus b whole cube is a cube plus b cube plus 3ab into a plus b. Everything is plus. A minus b whole cube is a cube minus b cube minus 3ab into a minus b. Everything is minus. A cube plus b cube is a plus b into a square minus ab plus b square. A cube minus b cube will be a minus b into a square plus ab plus b square. Now these two are new to you. A plus b plus c whole square is a square plus b square plus c square plus 2ab plus 2bc plus 2ca. A cube plus b cube plus c cube minus 3abc is equal to a plus b plus c into a square plus b square plus c square minus ab minus bc minus ca. Then the last three formula, let me explain and then you can copy it down. Sigma n is nothing but 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus so on up to n, and the formula is n into n plus 1 by 2. Sigma n square is 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus so on up to n square, and the formula is n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6. Sigma n cube is 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 3 cube plus 4 cube plus so on up to n cube, and the formula is n square into n plus 1 whole square by 4. It's nothing but sigma n whole square. Okay, copy it down. The theory is almost done. From here on, it's only logical questions. While you're copying, I'll just go on, explain you the basics of understanding formulae. You'll have to understand, see, a plus b whole square is a square plus b square plus 2ab. It's broken into two parts. Okay, see, three parts. So, a plus b whole square, a complicated number, is being broken into three parts. Okay, is being broken into three parts. Why do you break a number? You break a number to be able to solve problems faster. For example, if there's something like 105 square. Okay, it's easy to break this number rather than calculating 105 whole square directly. Okay, because it can be written as 100 plus 5 whole square, and breaking it up is easier because 100 square is 10,000, which is easy. 5 square is 25, which is easy. 2ab is 2 5s are 10 into 100, and that's 1000 again. So that such problems you break numbers. And there was a question in TCS earlier which goes like this: 2 power 74 plus 2 power 2053 plus 2 power 2n. For this to be a perfect square, what is the value of n? So the question goes like, for what value of n will 2 power 74 plus 2 power 2053 plus 2 power 2n be a perfect square? This is the question. Try to understand the question. Have you answered the question? See, it's easy. You want this number, okay, 2 power 74 plus 2 power 2053 plus 2 power 2n to be a perfect square, right? That's the question. Now, perfect square is equal to something plus something plus something. A perfect square is equal to something plus something plus something. So a perfect square is equal to three parts. Which formula has a perfect square being broken into three parts? Yes, we have a plus b whole square being broken into a square, b square and 2ab. When you compare these values, a square is 2 power 74, obviously a will be 2 power 37. b square is equal to 2 power 2n. That's 2 power n whole square, right? So b will be 2 power n. Now 2ab will be 2 into a 2 power 37 into b 2 power n is equal to 2 power 2053. Now this is 2 power 1, right? When the bases are equal and they are being multiplied, what happens to the powers? They are added. So 38 plus n is equal to 2053. Okay, and n is equal to what? 2015. So that's the answer. Now do you call it a tough question? It's easy, right? But understanding this part is difficult. So you'll have to understand the form a formula is prepared. So a plus b whole square, what's happening for a plus b whole square? It's been broken into 3 parts for simplification. That's how you observe and learn formulae. Okay, I hope this is clear. This is easy, right? This is an easy question. Anyways, let's get back to our topic. So the formula and all, you'll have to by heart them accordingly. It's easier that way. Okay, arithmetic progression. See, if there's a common difference between any two consecutive terms in a series, they're said to be an arithmetic progression. There should be a common difference. What's the difference here? D. You add another D, you get this. You add another D, you get this. Like this, the common difference should be the same. For example, 3, 7, 11, 15, so on. See, the common difference is 4 in each case, or you can take the descending order also. 7, 3, minus 1, minus 5, so on. This is also in an arithmetic progression. So the common difference can be positive or negative. Okay, so D can be negative here. A plus D, A plus 2D, A plus 3D, so on is the common form of an arithmetic progression. Now if terms are in AP or in arithmetic progression, the nth term will be A plus n minus 1 into D, where A is the first term and D is the common difference. Then sum of n terms will be n by 2 into first term plus last term. See, when there are n terms, nth term is the last term, right? So in place of the last term, you can substitute A plus n minus 1 into D, and you get n by 2 into 2A plus n minus 1 into D. Clear? Then number of terms n is equal to last term minus first term by common difference plus 1. This is very important. Number of terms, the formula is last term minus first term by common difference plus 1. Okay, now let's see. Copy this formula first and then we'll solve the problem. Copy the formula first. Let's understand the question in the meanwhile while you're copying. How many numbers from 100 to 200 are divisible by 7? How many numbers from 100 to 200 are divisible by 7? So from 100 to 200, there will be some numbers which are divisible by 7. We'll need to find how many. Okay, how many? You have to understand that divisible by 7 is an arithmetic progression, because if you write the multiplication table of 7, how will it be? 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. See, the difference is always 7. Even after 100 you write them, the difference is always 7. So they are in arithmetic progression. Okay, so to find how many numbers are divisible by 7 between 100 and 200, what you'll have to do is you'll have to find the first number after 100 which is divisible by 7, and you'll have to find the last number before 200 which is divisible by 7, because How many numbers? Number of terms is the formula asked. And what's the formula? Last term minus first term by common difference plus 1. You know that the common difference is 7 already. So you need to find the last and the first terms. So last and the first term should be calculated. Okay. See, it's easy because the number is 7 and 100 to 200. What if I give you complicated numbers like 3000 to 7000 and divisible by 36? Then it will be difficult, right? So this method is important. To find the first number, what we do is divide 100 by 7. One time 7 goes 30, 2 8, 2 is left. So small number, to find the first number, divide by 7 and you get the remainder as 2. And we understand from the number, if you subtract the remainder, you get a number which is exactly divisible by 7. That's what we do, right? When you subtract the remainder from a particular number, it should exactly be divisible by the divisor. So 100 minus 2 is definitely divisible by 7, but it's not between 100 and 200. So when you subtract something, you get a lesser value, and we want a value after 100. For that reason, you will add 7 again. Remember this. While finding the smallest number, you always add the divisor. So what is it? 105 is the first number after 100. The last number is simple. Divide 200 by 7. 2 times 14. 6 is the remainder. 0 comes down. 56 gone. 4 is the remainder. So you subtract the remainder here. You subtract the remainder here and you get 196 as the last number. So you got the first number as 105 and the last number as 196. Now it's easy to apply in the formula. Last term minus first term by common difference plus 1, that's equal to last term minus first term is 91. 91 by 7 is 13. So 13 plus 1 is 14. That's your answer. I've just given you an idea because there will be complicated questions. You have to find the first number and the last number. How do we do that? By dividing by the divisor. In this question it's 7, so you'll have to keep on dividing by 7. And the other point to remember is, while finding the smaller number, once you subtract the remainder, you get a number smaller. So you will have to add the divisor again so that our conditions are met. I want you to solve these 6 problems. This can be written as 100 plus 2 whole square. This can be written as 50 plus 1 whole cube. I hope you're solving them. Okay. Your 3 minutes is up. Let's solve the problems. 102 whole square is 100 plus 2 whole square, which is 100 square plus 2 square plus 2 into 2 into 100. 100 square is 10,000 because 100 is 2 zeros. 100 square should have 4 zeros. That's 10,000 plus 2 square is 4. 2 into 2 into 100 is 400. So 10,404 is the answer. Then 51 cube can be written as 50 plus 1 whole cube, which is 50 cube plus 1 cube plus 3 into 50 into 1 into 50 plus 1. This is the formula. That's equal to 50 cube is nothing but 5 cube 125 and 3 zeros after that. So 50 cube is 125, 5 cubes 125 and 3 zeros after that, plus 1 cube is 1 plus 3 into 50 into 1 is 150. Now 150 into 50 plus 1 should be done. First, we'll solve 150 into 50. This whole thing is 150, right? So 150 into 50, 15 5s are 75 and 2 zeros. That's 7,500 plus 150 into 1 is 150. So when you add this up, you get 125,000 and 7,500 is 132,500 and 151. So 132,651 is your answer. Okay. See, regarding the first question, there's a certain method that I want to teach you. Okay, the first question. Let's see. It's multiplication of numbers near 100. For example, 102 into 107, 98 into 97, 93 into 92, 104 into 109. Or we'll take opposite now. 103 into 96, 107 into 99. Okay, let's solve them first. Now this is 2 more than 100. So this is plus 2 and this is 7 more plus 7. This is 7 less, this is 8 less, this is 2 less, this is 3 less, this is 4 more and this is 9 more, this is 3 more and this is 4 less, this is 7 more and this is 1 less. Okay, now if you take the diagonal values, 102 plus 7 or 107 plus 2 is 109. Okay, 107 plus 2 or 102 plus 7 is 109. Then you multiply these two values. 2 into 7. What's 2 into 7? 14. 14. This is the answer. Again, let's solve this one. 104 plus 9 or 109 plus 4. How much is that? That's 113. Right? 4 9s are 36. This is your answer. 98 minus 3 or 97 minus 2 is 95. Then 2 3s are 6. You can't directly write 6. You have to take 0 6. Okay, then 93 minus 8 or 92 minus 7 is 85. 7 into 8 is 56. Minus into minus becomes plus, no? So you just have to add 56 and that's your answer. So what are we doing? We're taking the diagonal values so that you get the values in hundreds. See, 102 plus 7 is 109 hundreds and you added 14. 98 minus 3 is 95 hundreds and you took minus 2 into minus 3 is plus 6, so you added 6 to 9500. Then here 104 plus 109 is 113, you added 4 9s are 36. 93 minus 8 or 92 minus 7 is 85, minus 7 into minus 8 is 56, you added it. Similarly, 103 minus 4 or 96 plus 3 gives you 9900 and plus 3 into minus 4 is minus 12. Plus 3 into minus 4 is minus 12. So from 9900 you subtract 12 and you get 9888 as the answer. Similarly for the next one, 107 minus 1 or 99 plus 7 is 106 hundredths. Minus 7 should be done because plus 7 into minus 1 is minus 7. So the answer would be 10593. These are the answers. Is it understood? So when numbers are near hundreds, it's easier to calculate using this method. Look at the third question. There are 3 numbers in their cubes. 3 numbers in their cubes. If you observe the formula that I gave you, which formula has 3 numbers in cubes? This one, right? So look at the formula once. A cube plus b cube plus c cube minus 3abc is equal to a plus b plus c into a square plus b square plus c square minus ab minus bc minus ca. This is the formula. Look at the formula and remember it. Now, what's the value of A? A is 6. What's the value of B? B is 5. What's the value of C? C is minus 11. See, the questions are prepared in such a way that there will be a logic to it. Okay. So what is the value of A plus B plus C? What's the value of A plus B plus C? 0, right? 6 plus 5 minus 11 is 0. Once you understand that in this formula, if this is 0, this whole part becomes 0, then A cube plus B cube plus C cube is equal to what? 3ABC. So when A plus B plus C is 0, A cube plus B cube plus C cube is equal to what? 3ABC. So 6 cube plus 5 cube minus 11 cube will be equal to 3ABC. So that's 3 into 6 into 5 into minus 11. That's equal to 18 5s are 90. 90 into minus 11 will become minus 990. There's no need to calculate. Is that understood? Minus 990 is the answer. This will be easier. Okay. Nice. Let's look at the fourth question in the next page. See, we need to find 11 cube plus 12 cube plus 13 cube plus 14 cube plus 15 cube. 11 cube is 1331. 12 cube is 1728. 13 cube is 2197. 14 cube is 2744. And 15 cube is 3375. See, just because I know the numbers doesn't mean you're supposed to add them up. What if somebody asks you a question to find from 11 cube till 20 cube? If they ask you to find 11 cube plus 12 cube plus 13 cube plus so on up to 20 cube, then it will be a problem. Though you know the cube values, adding 10 4-digit numbers is going to take a lot of time and there is a high chance for making mistakes. So it's better we use formulae. But see, they are in cubes and continuously. So when things are continuous, we always use the formula of sigma. So 1 sigma 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus so on, or 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus so on. When things are continuous like that, it's better to use the formula of sigma. Here we need to understand that it starts from 11 and not 1. So we know that sigma n cube is equal to 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 3 cube plus 4 cube plus so on up to n cube is equal to n square into n plus 1 whole square by 4. This is the formula. Now what should be the value of n? N cannot be 5 here because if you take n as 5, you will get from 1 cube till 5 cube, not from 11 to 15. If you take n equals to 15, you get 1 cube plus 2 cube plus so on up to 15 cube. Now we only want from 11 to 15. So what we should do is we should subtract the things that are not necessary. So from 1 cube plus 2 cube so on up to 10 cube should be subtracted. Now we know the formula for these. This is 15 square into 16 square by 4 minus 10 square into n plus 1 is 11 square by 4. That's equal to. See, 4 can be written as 2 square. 4 can be written as 2 square. So this is 15 into 16 by 2 whole square. 15 into 16 by 2 whole square. So 16 by 2 is 8. So 15 into 8 whole square minus, this is 10 into 11 by 2 whole square. 10 by 2 is 5. So 5 into 11 whole square. That's equal to 120 square minus 55 square. What's the formula of a plus a square minus b square? That's a plus b into a minus b. Solve this to get your answer. How do we do this faster? By breaking this up. I will break it as 60 plus 5. When you break it as 60 plus 5, first you will need to perform 175 into 60 and then you will need to do 175 into 5 and you'll have to add them up. Okay. Now 175 into 60, we'll put 0 here, so that becomes 1750 into 6. We'll send 2 from 6. Okay, I'll write that for you. This becomes 1750 into 6. Then 2 here, I'll give this here. So this becomes 3500 into 3, or it becomes 10,500. You understood how I calculated 175 into 60? I sent 0 first to the other side, then I sent another 2 from 6 so that it was easy to calculate 10,500. Now 175 into 5 can be written as 5 into first 100 is 500s and 5 into 75 is 375. So when you add all these numbers, 10,500 and 500 is 11,000 and 375, you get the answer as 11375. Simplification should be faster. You need to learn to break numbers to calculate faster rather than calculating 175 to 65. When you break it and add these two, it's easier this way. Okay, whenever you use formulae, problems are solved faster. I hope this is understood. Look at the fifth question. I'll solve it for you. See, even if you use a calculator, you cannot solve this problem in a minute. Okay, because you'll have to write 2.73 into 2.73, you'll have to copy it here, and then you'll write 1.28 into 1.28, you'll write it here. You'll have to calculate 4.01 square, you'll have to write it here. 1.45 square, you'll have to write it here. Then you add these two, you get some value, you write it here. You add these two, you get some value, you write it here, and divide one with the other, and then you'll get your final answer, which is going to take a lot of time. Now, even if you use a scientific calculator, it's going to take a lot of time, okay? Because you'll have to give the parentheses and brackets properly. So, here, when they give you such a question to be answered in a minute, you have to understand there's definitely a logic to it, okay? So, these kind of questions, the logic is you'll have to consider the terms in the numerator to be a and b. If that doesn't work out, then you will consider the terms in the denominator to be a and b. For example, if you consider these to be a and b, it becomes a square plus b square by, what's the value of a plus b? What's the value of a plus b? 4.01. So this became a plus b whole square. What's the value of a minus b? 2.73 minus 1.28 gives you 1.45. So this became a minus b whole square. That's equal to, you have a square plus b square in the numerator. A plus b whole square is a square plus b square plus 2ab. A minus b whole square is a square plus b square minus 2ab. Plus 2ab and minus 2ab gets cancelled, and you're left with 2 times of a square plus b square. This and this gets cancelled, and the answer is 1 by 2. That's all. Is it understood? So the question is planned in such a way, because if at all this is not 1.28 and if it's 1.29, even I can't do it in 1 minute. If I can't solve it in 1 minute, I'm not going to ask you to solve it in 1 minute. So when such a question is given, there'll definitely be a logic to it, and that's what we'll have to find out. So if a and b, you take the terms in the numerator to be a and b, you'll have to find a plus b and a minus b. If they match, it's okay. Else, you'll have to take the terms in the denominator to be a and b, and you'll have to find a plus b and a minus b, and they'll definitely match, because this is the logic for these questions. These kind of questions have only one logic, and the answer to this question is 1 by 2. Clear?
We'll continue in part 2.